If your old life is falling apart, maybe it's because your new one is trying to begin. Stay with me for a second and just listen. Hey you, welcome back to the podcast. Today I want to talk about shedding layers and changing our life. Because if it feels like your life is falling apart, probably it's because the new one is trying to begin. Just try to stay with me for a second and just listen. Let's reset our nervous system. Let's just take a deep breath in and unclench our jaw. Maybe drink a cup of water. Water, or I have matcha today. Or you can also try to stretch. Okay, now are you ready for the episode? Great. So now that you are with me, just try to listen what I'm about to say. Life doesn't ask a permission to change. It just happens. And when it does, then it rarely feels exciting, right? But here is something that I've learned, because I think lately I've been going through a big changes in my own life. And I can give you a little backstory if you want to know, but to make things short, there is a lot of things that are changing in my life, including the people, including the job, including where I live, and all kind of my stabilities, you could say. And they're not bad changes, you know. It's not like, oh, I lost my job, or oh, I have to move or something. It's all kind of things that were bound to happen in one way or another, and they are changing to better. But it's still very difficult because I feel kind of two sides of the coin at the same time, you know. And I think this is really good reminder, maybe also for you, that it's okay to have different feelings coexist inside of you. It's okay to be grieving and at the same time to be able to go out and have fun with your friends. And that's something that I felt a lot in the past few weeks or months, when I've truly been grieving all of these changes, because there were places or jobs or things that I've loved, but I also knew that inevitably they will change, right? And life is change. Nothing lasts forever, we all know that. So it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to also admit to yourself that actually things did impacted me more than I expected. And it's okay, because the only thing that it shows is that you care. That you truly cared deeply about those things that you thought you weren't maybe so attached to. And that's okay. That doesn't mean anything bad. So allow yourself to have these feelings, because the earlier you allow them to sort of flow through you, the earlier and faster you're gonna recover, if we call it in that way. And another thing that I wanted to mention, and the realization that I had, is, you know, change is not comfortable. And I guess we hear that a lot in many podcasts or self-help books or movies and whatnot, so I'm pretty sure we are all aware of it. But change isn't comfortable. If you look into nature, you can clearly see that, for example, caterpillars and how they change into butterflies. It's not a nice process. It's not a spa treatment that they go to wrap themselves in a cocoon to have a nice relaxing time. No, they literally dissolve in that cocoon into a mush to become a butterfly, to grow their wings. You know how painful that is? Or a seed. If a seed needs to grow, it needs to crack first. It needs to open up to release and grow its roots. That's not easy. That's not enjoyable, maybe even, but it is rewarding. And that's why I want to emphasize that change is not comfortable, but it is necessary if you want to grow, and it is inevitable because life is change. If you look all around you, you can see that the seasons are changing, people are changing, we get wrinkles, trees lose their leaves, we all change, and it's okay. It's totally okay. And it's not comfortable, but it is rewarding. And it's completely worth it at the end, I think. So don't give up. If you feel like you are maybe struggling right now, or maybe your environment is changing a lot, or the people around you, or your job, or even your passions, even you might be changing internally. Have compassion with yourself, because like that seed that needs to crack open to grow, maybe this is you opening up right now to be able to grow. And also have patience, because it takes a long time before a seed grows into a flower and blooms, right? So don't expect yourself to figure it all out today or in a week. It might take months or even years, who knows? But that's okay. So don't panic and don't try to go back to comfort just because there is so much unknown. And I truly believe that the universe always tests us a little bit more. You know, each time we sort of level up or we get through that challenge that we thought we wouldn't handle, or, you know, this big life change. Maybe you went through a heartbreak, maybe you lost somebody, or maybe you just had to move, or you finished school and you're wondering about what should I do now, and then you managed that challenge. But it wasn't over, right? Because now the God and universe will serve you another layer of that challenge, another level, let's say. So it will never become easy. And I'm sorry to sound maybe pessimistic, but the faster we get used to things, you know, needing a little bit of effort from us, the faster the life will actually become easier for us. Because it's full of challenges and it's full of changes. So we cannot stay rigid. We have to stay open like that seed. And that's not easy, right? To allow yourself to crack, to go through that pain or challenge of opening up and staying open so that your roots can grow and this plant can bloom one day and you can show the world your light. But don't give up, because if you give up, then you will never grow and reach your full potential, right? And also another thing that I would like to say is about crying and expressing your emotions, because I've been crying a lot in the past few weeks, and I'm not afraid to admit it, because of course it was all kinds of cries. It was the grief, it was the joy, it was the gratitude of my new life coming. But don't be afraid to cry, because if you think about it, it's kind of like a pressure cooker inside of you, right? And you need to release your emotions somewhere, because if you don't, then they will manifest in another way. So don't be afraid to cry and express your emotions about this new life or change that might be happening. Because maybe it just means that something inside of you is trying to grow, that something is pushing you forward. And it might be scary, but you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be afraid of change, because you are only getting closer again to the version of you that feels safe. And nothing lasts forever. Of course, we cannot be happy forever. We cannot have all we want forever. And sometimes things do end earlier than we wish them to, but you know, the bad things will also not last forever. And you won't feel like this forever. And maybe you feel right now like the half-grown butterfly that only has one wing and the rest of you is sort of still dissolved in that mush. But that will also not last forever. So allow the change to happen, because life is doing exactly what you asked it to do.